CL, back with you on this Wednesday here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, and want to thank all of you for coming along. And folks, I really mean it when I tell you that we missed a golden opportunity to have someone who had served us well in the United States Senate in Washington, D.C. in these perilous times, in the embodiment of David Vitter. It was an opportunity for us to have someone who knew the way, who could show us the way nationally, Louisianians. He could have shown us the way nationally if we'd elected him to the governor's chair. The type of clout that came along with that, from his Washington perspective to the governor's chair in Baton Rouge, would have been priceless. But neither here nor there now. As Hillary would say, what does it matter at this point anyway? We just do what we do. And that's the shame of it. We've been doing what we do here in this state for far too long. But I still love the state, trying to do what I do to help us see the light. It's on. Fly toward it. Now, let's look at this. I want to make sure that you know this, because we have soldiers who are being dunned by the United States government. Pentagon is dunning soldiers who were giving signing bonuses to actually be reactivated into the theaters of war. And now they're saying that they were given the money, it was wrong for them to receive the money. Let me say this. There is an Afghan soldier, an American soldier who was killed in Afghanistan earlier this month. When he was killed, do you know how many deployments he had had? 14. No, 14. He had been deployed 14 times. And yeah, he had gotten signing bonuses to come on back in, the same as these men who are being dunned by the United States Pentagon, the military, because somehow, mistakenly, according to their records, they got the money, ill-gotten. It was wrong. It was a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake, because there's not enough that we could have done for them. I want to know how many times each one of them who may be getting done may have been deployed themselves. Because if we're talking about making life financially miserable for soldiers who have been there 2 times, who've been deployed 2 times or 3 times into theaters of war where their lives were on the line, if we're talking about dunning them for $15,000 or $25,000, and we waste money on entitlement programs, no, you as an American ought to be outraged over the blatant disrespect that your Pentagon, your government, is paying to people who actually wore the uniform and paid the price. You should be outraged about it. You should be picking up the phone now. I have already done it. You should be picking up the phone now, asking them what's going through your mind when you have somebody across town or wherever who make a living of a money that will never be repaid, and they're able to work. They've never defended the country. They've never thought about defending the country, but they reap the benefits of that while we sit here and watch this government done and make miserable the financial lives of men who had re-upped to go and defend their country. And when I look at this Afghan soldier, this American soldier who got himself killed in Afghanistan earlier in the month, he had been deployed 14 times. You know what else that tells us? It tells us that our military is, in fact, weary. No, 14 times, that means that's how many times he's been away from his wife, his children, his family, his aunt, whoever it is. And folks, when they go to places like Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever they're deployed to in that Middle East theater, they don't wake up to bacon and eggs. They don't wake up to the Sunday morning newspaper watching NFL football in a safe zone while Colin Kaepernick, yeah, the San Francisco quarterback, you know that idiot, while Colin Kaepernick disrespects the flag that they re-up on and wanted to redeploy for. To give this nut the chance and the privilege to play football on a Sunday on television, making $10 to $20 million a year. That's where we, and when we talk about making America great again, which we will a little bit later on in the show, we're talking about restoring the type of mentality that cause us to honor the men and women who are willing to give it all so that we can continue to enjoy our daily bread. Folks, come November 8th, it is going to be, regardless of who wins, I'll say it again, a massive train wreck, regardless of who wins. I have a feeling that the cover, because of the Trump campaign, the cover on so many things are going to be blown off. Hillary Clinton becomes president of the United States. Do you know how many stories and how many scandals are dogging her right now? The train wreck will be epic. I'm CL. CL back with you on this Wednesday here at the top of the hour, and I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you coming along. As I promised, Cindy Graves is going to join me now from Florida at a debate where Marco Rubio is at Broward College there in Davie, Florida. Cindy, welcome back to the CL Bryant Show. Thank you so much for being there.
Oh, my goodness, thank you for inviting me back. It's an exciting time to be a Republican, and it sure is exciting here in Florida.
Yes, it is, and I want to remind all the audience that Cindy is the chair of the Republican Party of Duval County. Now, Cindy, just a couple of days ago, some of the polls were showing our candidate, our nominee, Donald Trump, behind. Today, they're showing him ahead. Full steam ahead. Can we win Florida? Can we win it? Give us some good news.
Yes, we certainly can win Florida. I think that we do have a ground game. You know, the media keeps on reporting odd remarks and strange facts, but the fact is that we have a ground game. Here in Duval County is one of the 25 battleground counties in the United States of America. People say, and this is our motto, is North Florida votes, so votes the nation every single time.
Absolutely.
And what we try to do here is offset the South Florida vote, which is, you know, they grow a lot of liberals down there, and we have a lot of retirees from northern states that have priced themselves out of the market and have to move to our beautiful state where we don't have taxes. And then they come and they bring their voting record, unfortunately.
Yeah, they do.
What we've been, and it's sad, but what we've been doing here every single weekend since the end of August, we have been knocking up to 13,000 doors per Saturday. We have the most energized group of volunteers, and the Trump volunteers are like no other that I've ever met in my life.
They are energized.
Getting it done.
They are energized. You know, Cindy, that is amazing. 13,000. That is incredible. Doors,
incredible.
Folks. That's a lot of doors. I've knocked doors. That is a lot of doors. Now, Cindy, a lot of us are wondering why it is folks like Marco Rubio and in the established part of the party, why aren't they getting on the Trump train the way we feel they should? What's going on with that?
Well, you know, I'm not going to call Marco out individually, but I will say that what we've seen here, and, you know, we have a big political base here in Florida, a lot of it with the major donors, you know, that come out of our state and finance a lot of huge campaigns and big PACs. They're not doing it this time because I'd like to call them 2020 voters. They seem to have thought that if they curtailed the media, dumbed down the enthusiasm level, or kept telling us long enough that the polls were wrong, and did an onslaught on Marco Rubio, such as, on Donald Trump. I'm looking at Marco Rubio, sorry. Donald Trump, such as what happened, you know, right after we had our Hurricane Matthew, when that awful story came out. It was obviously, you know, I think the Bush family must have known a little bit about that story, and that was pretty odd timing. They called it the October surprise, and it did put a pitch in people's get along, but you can't dampen down someone who is devoted to changing America and helping our lives as Donald Trump. I've never seen a candidate that has taken this much abuse, this much on the chin, and turned the conversation directly back around, as he has here in Florida, to the main issues of the day.
He's a winner. There's no question about it. He is a winner. There's no question about it. I'm not surprised at the Bush family, especially the Jeb Bush section of the family, as far as the way he is behaving. But I was surprised last night at Megyn Kelly in the way she came off on Newt Gingrich in that interview. What do you say about it yourself?
Well, I say that I wasn't surprised by it, unfortunately, because I think that we have been witnessing a continuous adult temper tantrum from Megyn Kelly since last summer. She needs to put on her big girl pants and move on, but she seems to now have turned into some sort of a diva that she thinks that she's in charge of all of it. I can't even imagine the nerve of her going up against Newt Gingrich. He's forgotten more about politics than she'll ever know.
Yeah, that is absolutely a fact. And what I'm seeing as well is a shift in supposedly conservative news outlets like Fox. They are beginning to change, and I think people are beginning to see that there's a change here. So Trump is not only fighting the Democrats, he's also having to fight conservative news outlets and the Republican Party itself. I have said this, Cindy, and I want you to comment on it. I have said that whoever wins on November 8th, our nation may be looking at an epic train wreck. If Trump wins, there's going to be a lot of Republicans, unfortunately, who are going to fight him. If Hillary wins, well, we know that the revolution is going to be on. What do you say about November 8th? What about November
Well,
9th?
I will tell you something. I live in Florida where a governor that was not well known, his name is Rick Scott, he came in and he was the same type of anti-establishment candidate as we have in Mr. Trump. And he came in, and I'll tell you something, CL, it's kind of heartwarming because you can't imagine how quickly the people, the establishment that was against him turned around and started sucking up. I'm surprised your ears weren't popping all the way to Louisiana because that was a lot of sucking up.
That would be
I
great.
think everybody loves the winner, and once he wins, I think that his policies are not going to sit well with everyone. I'm very surprised at people like Speaker Ryan, who uses our microphone to discuss his own points on politics and his personal opinion, of which I am not interested in. When we see people like that, it'll be interesting to see how long they are for their political world. We had Kevin McCarthy here on Sunday, and he has stayed loyal to the party. I think that he is a grassroots leader. I wish y'all could get him on your show. I'm sure you have had him.
Yeah, well, I'd love to get Kevin. Yeah. Let me ask you this.
He's fabulous.
Let me ask you this before we get into Marco Rubio and what his campaign is looking like. Now, Washington does need shaking up. I want to hear from you why Donald J. Trump is the tool that Americans can, in fact, look to shake up Washington, D.C. Let's fire him up. Why do we think he's the guy?
Because he's going to drain that swamp. You know, I tell you what, I am the least likely Tea Partier type anti-establishment person that you would ever come across if you asked me 8 years ago. I'm tired of it. Everyone is tired of it. Trillions of dollars in debt. Americans on YouTube having their heads cut off in a president that goes and plays golf right afterwards. We have a crazy woman, especially that was already nuts when you talk about Hillary Clinton from Benghazi and all the rest of her, the terrible things that she has done to America, putting our security at risk and all the rest. I didn't think that she could go any lower until WikiLeaks started talking about that their DNC and her machine actually put Americans at risk in Chicago over a political rally. When you talk about these things, I don't believe personally anymore, and I know I sound probably like I'm crazy, but when we talk about what happened to those poor people in Ferguson, it seems as though the Justice Department is always around.
Hold that thought right there, Cindy. Hold that thought right there. Folks, we'll be back with Republican Chair of Duval County, Cindy Graves, when we return. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere. CL back with you on this beautiful day in America. And on the line with me is the party chair, Republican Party chair of Duval County, Florida. Her name is Cindy Graves. She's there in Broward College at a Marco Rubio debate. And Cindy, welcome back. Let me ask you this now. Marco had received a lot of flack there in Florida. How's he looking? How's his rebound coming?
He's looking great in that same Politico poll that I believe you were referencing earlier, or you might have been referencing the Bloomberg poll for Trump. But both of them look good for him, and they look even better for Marco. Marco, I think, is an icon here in Florida, and I'm almost certain that he's going to win. I'm sure that he is going to win because he is up against a man who is so truth challenged that he almost makes Hillary Clinton look honest.
Wow.
This guy can't even tell you where he grew up. He grew up on Fisher Island next to Jeb Bush. That's hardly in poverty, and I think that people kind of figured that out after a while.
But he doesn't want you to know that, does he?
No, he didn't. He made up an entire resume. It was absolutely bizarre for a young man of privilege and thinking that no one would notice. This man is particularly onerous to me because this is the man that came into South Florida and took out, during a redistricting battle and all the rest of it, took out our hero, Alan West.
Yeah.
Because Alan West had moved to another district. So this guy thinks he's all that in a box of chocolates, but I think that he's hit a wall with Marco Rubio, and now he's not running in his little favorite district down where all the Democrats live. Now he's running statewide. And you know what? We've got his number.
Yeah, Alan's up here close to me now. He's down about 180 miles down the road in Dallas, Texas. But I am very happy to hear that Marco is expected to do well. Tell him that C.L. Bryant says hello. Marco is an acquaintance of mine, along with J.R. Sanchez, who was one of his right-hand men in Washington, D.C. We do wish him well. We wish you well. Now, finally, those 29 electoral votes there in Florida are going to be hard fought for by both Trump and Clinton. And you are seeing the trend. We are seeing the tide beginning to turn. Or has it ever turned away from Trump? Was that just news hype, in your opinion? How do you see that?
I believe it was news hype, and I believe it was the wishful thinking from the establishment candidates that just all they do is dream of 2020, and that's why I call them the 2020 donors and the 2020 candidates. It's absolutely ridiculous when you think of just the gross national product that Donald Trump has contributed to in our state. The real tricky part of getting elected statewide as a Republican here in Florida is to get elected in South Florida. Well, it just so happens that Mar-a-Lago and all the places that Donald Trump owns and all the people that he employs live in that area. So I think that's a game changer. I also think that the African-American communities that are in the know, especially here in North Florida, are not very happy with Hillary Clinton. And there's lots of reasons for that. So it seems to be the perfect storm where I not only think that we'll bring in the Republicans in a very big way and the independents, but I think we're going to have some crossover appeal that no one's heard of yet, and it's going to be just like England. That's what I think.
I am incredibly encouraged by your conversation here with us here today, Cindy Graves, and I thank you so much for being on with us. I'll be checking in with you probably about 5 days out. I need to check in with you about 5 days out so that we can get the pulse of what's still happening in Florida. Listen, fight the good fight. I know you will because you are, Cindy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. We're going to get Trump Jr. here for the Florida-Georgia game this Saturday, so we'll really be pumped. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right, that was Cindy Graves there at the Rubio debate at Broward College there in Davie, Florida. And according to her and according to all accounts that I have checked out over the last 24 hours, there is a lot of little gremlins who are floating around in these polls right now and messing with the polls. Let me tell you something. She mentioned something that's very important for us to think about, because I do speak with a lot of college students, black and white. I speak with a lot of African-American groups, black groups across the country. I hate the term African-American. I really do. I prefer black folks myself. I mean, you white folks can call yourself whatever you want, but but just the same, I like the term black folks. And unfortunately, we have to speak in colors here in this country. That's just the way it is. But now, she mentioned a possibility of black folks who are tired of Hillary Clinton, and they should be. Now, if you let certain factions of quote unquote black leadership, and I always take issue with why people will land in America and say, "Take me to your black leaders," as though black folks, me and other 13 million others, or however many or it is, 30 million others, can't speak for ourselves. How come black folks got to have a leader? We're the Italian, we're the Irish, we're the French American leaders. If you don't call them African Americans, we're the French American leaders. We're the Irish American leaders. How come black folks, how come African Americans, as the political correct want to call them, how come they got to have some kind of leader? We know how much our mortgage is. We know what kind of shoes our children need. We know what kind of food we need to put on the table. I don't need anybody to lead me there. I know how much money's in my pocket. I know how much is in the bank. I don't need a leader to tell me that. You just need common sense to live. That's true. Any one of you out there listening right now, you know what you need to live? Common sense. And back when folks didn't even have an education, white or black in this country, they did a whole lot more with less than we do with incredible amount of more at this point in time. They had common sense. The death of common sense, I don't know where it went. I don't know when it happened, but common sense in too many cases died. And unfortunately, and I love my children, I don't see a lot of it in my kids. Just common sense. Oh, they got plenty of book learning now. Oh, they're smart as a whip when it comes to technology. But I'm just talking about just common sense. Mother wit, as Mama used to call it. Mother wit. Don't have it. Horse sense, somebody used to call it. Don't use those terms anymore. Mother wit, horse sense, common sense. Don't hear those words anymore, and it's a shame we don't. Now, black folks, it's time to try something different. Been trying to say it for a long time, 7 years, all during the Obama administration. I have been preaching this sermon across this nation to America and to black folks in particular. It is time to try something different. And if you think Obama was something different, he wasn't. He was the same old, just in black skin. He was Hillary Clinton. He was Bill Clinton in black skin. That's all he was. And I have a feeling that there is a lesson that Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Package, I have a feeling there is a lesson that he's going to leave in his wake behind for us to clearly understand that he was the same old. I'm CL. Be right back. Had a caller during the break. 320-5335, is the number to call if you want to talk. I'll try to get to the phones. They got so much to talk about. And, of course, coming up here in just the next break will be Ryan Lambert, who is the Louisiana State Director of Trump for L.A. And, folks, have you figured out yet? I'm wanting Trump to win this, and I am not believing that that liberal, progressive liberal, CNN, Megyn Kelly type of mantra that he doesn't have a chance. I don't believe it, and don't you believe it. I've said this to you now for a long. Don't you believe it? Don't you believe it? It's going to be one of those Dewey beats Truman type of scenarios. The race is close. Hillary knows it. She's telling everybody not to take the foot off the pedal. Drive it into the wall. Drive this campaign straight on into the wall. And I'm telling you, her campaign, win or lose. Well, if she loses, people are going to let her. She's going to get a pass. She's going to go away. Even Trump's going to give her a pass. She's going to go as long as she goes away. But if she wins, there's nothing that's going to go away. No. It's going to be game on. Now, if we look at this thing right now, one of the callers during the break couldn't get on the line with me. Was saying this. I went to vote yesterday. Jane and I went down to vote in our DeSoto Parish residential parish, DeSoto Parish, and there are a lot of amendments on there that you must read very carefully. In fact, I'm going to have someone on probably tomorrow or Friday. Most likely it'll be Friday when I have them on with me. Maybe tomorrow night on with me to explain. I think there's 4, maybe 5 amendments that we voted for. And I had to read them very carefully and, of course, call folks to just get a clarification on them. There are 2 that are pretty clear-cut and written right, the first 2, I think. And then the other 3, you have to sort of wade through that because they word those things in ways that, only attorneys usually can understand. So you need a little help. We're going to have somebody in here that can help us with that. Now, let's move forward and talk about the state of not only our nation but also here in Louisiana. Violent crime across the nation is down. However, violent eruptions in the street are up. And we are going to, just in the next 12 full days, I see that I'm seeing here that some schools have already said in some larger cities that they're going to be closed on November 8th, Tuesday, November 8th, Election Day, in anticipation of violence here in America. They'll be closed on November 9th, on November 8th and 9th. Why the 9th? I'll tell you why the 9th. Because, as I said earlier, the train may come off the track on November the 8th, the night of November 8th. Pardon me. Which means that on November 9th, we don't know whose lives matter might be in the streets of America protesting, particularly if DJT wins. If Donald J. Trump wins, the forces of progressive liberalism, they've already said it. Will declare open warfare in the streets of America. And I'm seeing those factions beginning to gather right now. Oh, they're getting ready for it. Now, here is the flip side of that coin. And we're going to talk to Ryan Lambert here in just a little bit about the flip side of that coin. Excuse me. Flip side of that coin. If Hillary Clinton wins the presidency and you don't see conservatives, Republicans, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of Republicans outraged. I think you will see conservatives outraged. But I don't think you're going to see the good old boy, the Republican Party, Paul Ryan, outraged by Hillary Clinton being elected president of the United States. So it's going to take people who understand what has happened to be outraged about it and then do something. We'll talk more about that if and when the time comes. I'm not talking about anything crazy. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Not talking about anything crazy, but there is something that can be done that will be very effective. And we've done it before. I was a part of it back in 2009. We've done it before. It was effective. It took back the House and the Senate from the Democrats. But now we have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But we are approaching it. And one way or the other, on November 9th, there are people who are looking at the streets of America. And they're saying to themselves, will my child be safe at school in some of these larger cities? Because of the anticipation of something crazy happening if DJT wins the presidency. Oh, yeah, the die is already cast. Dazed and confused? The whole nation is in a state of being dazed and confused. I'm CL. Be right back.
Been dazed and confused for so long, it's not true. Wanted a woman, never bargained for you. Lots of people talking, few of them know. Soul of a woman was created below.
CL. Misery Loves Company. That's by Soul Asylum. Yeah, and it does. It really does. You see, the Democrats have been miserable for years because they hadn't really gotten their way. But they're on the brink of doing it if we get out of the way, but we can't. And one of the people who is, in fact, leading the charge for us to stand our ground is Louisiana State Director of the Trump for Louisiana, Ryan Lambert. Ryan, welcome back to the CL Bryant Show, man. I certainly hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Now, Ryan, the first thing I want to talk about is how can people who are of like mind for Trump volunteer to help him here in this state and anywhere else that he may need help?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, we have a website designed to make phone calls, not just in Louisiana or North Carolina or any particular state, but also throughout the nation. And that website is talk.donaldjtrump.com.
Talk.donald. Say it again.
Yep, talk.donaldjtrump.com.
Folks, write it down. Go there. We have a golden opportunity right now to make sure that he is the winner of this presidential election. We don't have any worries here in Louisiana, it doesn't appear at all, Ryan, but, you never know. It looks like over in Texas, the liberals would like for us to think that Texas is in play and that Georgia is in play. They would like to feed us all of that type of thing, but give us the real rundown on the swing states themselves, not Texas or Georgia like that, but Pennsylvania, Florida. Give us some rundown as far as you can tell.
Yeah, look, I mean, we have a great staff in each of those states that have been working very hard to remind voters to go out and vote. And I think that goes back to the talk.donaldjtrump.com website, that our entire, or people like me, our focus is turning out the vote right now. And it is absolutely vital that we get every single Donald Trump voter out to the polls, whether it's early or on November 8th. And I think what we're seeing now is a huge uptick in Republican early voting that hasn't happened in a long time. And, I mean, it's breaking records. Just here in Louisiana, in 2012, we were at 50,000 voters, early voters, on day one. And now in 2016, we're at 87,000.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Up 30,000 voters. That is amazing. And you know what, folks? I know that that's true. Yesterday, when Jane and I went to vote, we went to vote early. There was a line in Mansfield at our voter registrar's office. And so I know that's true. And I'm telling you something. That bodes well for Republicans, wouldn't you think?
It does. I think it does. And, we're seeing in many, many states, even in North Carolina, for example, that Republican early voting is up and Democrat early voting is down from 2012. So we're performing very well. And I think, you know what, people love Mr. Trump's message, and we know at the end of the day that we absolutely have to elect Mr. Trump.
When we talk about shaking up Washington, I had Cindy Graves, who is the Republican chair of Duval County, Florida, on with me just about 30 minutes ago now. And she was talking about, when we talk about shaking up Washington, D.C., even dyed-in-the-wool traditional Republicans are tired of what's going on in Washington, D.C. There need to be a shakeup. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
I do, and I think that's one of the things that Mr. Trump has always been talking about and always wanted to do, and that's why we back him and we love him so much. We want a president who's working for us, and not the other way around. Not someone who's been in there really for 30 years, knows the game and knows how to play it, and has the dirt on everybody so they get their way. But here we have Mr. Trump who's doing it for the right reasons, and as president, he's going to make sure that government and America works for us.
And you know what? The thing, and now people are trying to taint the image of Donald Trump, but it's not going to work. Let me tell you why I believe it's not going to work, Ryan, and that is because Trump's life is an open book. And you can see where he got up, he fell down, he got back up again. He is everything that every American would want to be in their life. When you fail, you get up and you succeed again. That is what Americans have always been about. Now, let me ask you this. As far as the young vote is concerned, how is that youth vote looking as far as turning out for this candidate?
Look, I think it's looking really well. What I can speak on is with LSU, for example, we have a tremendous Trump, Tigers for Trump is what they call it, a tremendous Tigers for Trump coalition that has over 150 students in it. And we're seeing that across the nation, really, with individual colleges and universities, and we just have a lot of groundswelling and a lot of support.
And I also want one more time for you to tell our listeners what the website where they can go to volunteer to become a Trump volunteer.
Yeah, no matter where you are in the nation, you can go to talk.donaldjtrump.com. And sign up is right on that website. And as soon as you sign up, whatever state you're in, someone is going to get your information and be able to contact you and walk you through the rest. So if you want to go to another state like Florida or Arizona or anywhere else, you'll be able to tell them as soon as they contact you.
And we have listeners in every one, excuse me, of the 50 states, even in Hawaii. I have listeners in Hawaii, and I certainly want you to go there. Ryan, I want to thank you for being on with me.
Absolutely.
God bless and keep you, man.
Thank you very much. Sounds good.
I'm CO. We'll be right back.
What do you do when you get lonely? Nobody's waiting by your side. You've been running, fighting much too long. You know it's just your mood.
Okay, Americans, let's just calm down and take a deep breath here. These next 12 days, these next 12 full days, let's calm down and take a deep breath here because we know what we want. Yeah, we know what we want in a leader. Pardon me. Yeah, I don't know if it's the air conditioning. Jay, we say it all the time, but it bothers me at this point in the day, every day. But we know what we want in a leader in this country. We want someone who will tell us how they will do what they're going to do and what they're going to do, first of all. They're going to tell us what they're going to do. Then they're going to tell us how they're going to do it. Then we want to know why they're going to do it. And we want to know the effect that it'll have on us as American citizens. Okay? We need a clear vision. And that's the same type of vision that you would give your family, your business. If you're in a church, your church. If you're a pastor, like I have been 3 different times in my lifetime. They need a vision. Everyone, if you're a leader of anything, and now that starts in the home, if you're the head of your household, you need vision on, your family needs to know what you're about. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you realize that there are a lot of people who do have families? They have many children. And they do put bread on the table, but your children don't know what you're about, and they don't know the vision for where you want the family to go. They really don't. And one of the things that I think has been successful, the reason you see, even in the Trump children, their success is because they have been focused, and they have been made to focus by a father who's driven, and by a father who understands what his vision is, and he passes it on to their children. That creates sustainability. That creates sustainability in a family. It creates sustainability in a church. It will create sustainability in a nation and a business. No doubt about it. I'll take some calls now. Kenny, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, brother?
Yes, sir. I was calling with a couple of things. One, on our state, on the elected officials like the Senate representatives, we can't afford to send anybody that's got a D after their name. I don't care how good they are. Like here in Louisiana, there's like Mr. Campbell. I would vote for him for public service commissioner, but I can't send to the Senate because if he went up there, then we'd end up having liberal. We'll get one step closer to having liberal chairman running all the committees, as well as controlling the Senate again, like they had with Harry Reid.
Right.
And that would be as detrimental as having Hillary, and really be bad if Hillary gets it. And then the other statement, if they want an outline of what a Hillary president, they need to look at 1 Kings, I think it's chapter 18, and see what Jezebel did.
You're absolutely right about that. And all of you preachers and prophets out there, all of you pastors, you better read that one, because the first thing she wanted to do was destroy you. Okay?
Yep.
Destroy you. Yeah.
And Hillary doesn't like the Christian or the Catholic Christian church at all.
And I want to thank you so much for that input. And you're right about sending somebody with a D behind their name to Washington, because they will, if God, listen, I certainly hope God grants us favor and not allow us to have to go through a Hillary Clinton presidency. But if we send Democrats from our states to help her, then we're in trouble at home. There's no question about it.
Well, even these say they're going to vote Louisiana values. They might vote Louisiana values, but the National Democratic Party, they're going to stack those committee chairmen with people from California and New England, which are way more liberal than some of our Louisiana Democrats are. And since ours will be freshmen, they won't have any clout at all. All they'll do is get to vote, and they'll sit there and eat popcorn.
And you know what, Kenny? I don't think most people have even read the Democrat national platform as the makeup of what the party is about. How can you read that coming from Louisiana and then sign on to it? You know what I'm saying?
Right. And the other part, if you look at the reason Jezebel got in, God was punishing Israel for their values that they were exercising. And if she was to get in, that might be our punishment for the way the United States had drifted.
One of my good friends, Dr. Rodney Howard Brown, said it this way: Trump may not be the savior of America, but he may be the stay of execution that we're looking for. Listen,
Right.
Kenny, thank you so much for calling. God bless and keep you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, folks, when we think about sending someone to Washington, D.C. as our senatorial representative, we have to think about who is going to go along and play ball and who is going to hold on to core values and who's going to represent core values. And I had John Fleming in just the other day, and, of course, Mike Johnson we've had on many times. I have great respect for both of them, and I do believe that both of them are men of character who will hold the core value lines. Yeah. Now, back to what Americans want. We want to know out of our leaders, and this is that time. Listen, I will talk about our schools. I'll talk about our streets. I'll talk about our police and all of that. And all of that. In probably the rest of 2017, the good Lord says the same. But these next 12 days, I want to encourage you to make sure that you go out and cast a vote, and the way I think the right way. You got to know what that you want in a leader and what they're going to do. And we're going to talk about how, we're going to talk about why, and the effect when I come back. I'm CL. Don't go anywhere.
Day by day, night after night.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
As we head down the home stretch of the C.L. Bryant Show, be reminded that we're headed down the home stretch of this presidential election that is taking place in our nation, the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. All of our friends in Wilmington, North Carolina, I want to welcome you as well to the show. I got to make a note here to be certain to mention our friends in Wilmington as well. They play their own commercials and stuff up there, but just the same, I need to thank you folks for having me in your homes, in your living rooms, and of course, there in your fair area of North Carolina. Now listen. We're headed down the home stretch. If our candidate had made this thing and kept this thing about Clinton and Obama, and just ignored the attacks that they placed against him, and I don't just mean just not say anything, but I'm talking about ignore them, like a little yapping dog, you know. I noticed I'm a large dog person. I like large regal dogs, you know, like Great Danes and Akitas. You know, I like large dogs. Jane and I have owned both those breeds, and own one of those breeds now. And one thing I've noticed about big dogs, if they are bred right, they don't pay any attention to a little yapping dog. Trump needs to understand he's a big dog. He needs to understand he's a big dog. And all this little yapping stuff that goes around along his feet, you know, coming up, can't really hurt him unless he engage that. No. And when we look at how he's handled it, he's put himself in a situation where he's having to fight uphill. Now he's doing the right thing. He's talking about what the vision is. He's talking about what the purpose is. He's talking about where he wants to take the country. And if he can stay there, and Lord knows that it's an if, because he's been there before. He's been on that track before. He's been on that path to going against Obama and Clinton and using their record to beat them over the head with. He's been on that track before. And then they throw something out there that's unsavory, and nobody likes to have their name sullied, or nobody likes to be lied on. Nobody likes that. But you can also just say, hey, this is all untrue. And I don't have time to deal with it, but I'm going to tell you it's not true. And if it continues to hang around, then I'll deal with it after I win this election. But first, let's talk about Obama and Clinton and how they have lied to us and how they have pillaged us, how they have hoodwinked and bamboozled us. Let's talk about that. If Trump had done that, we would not be having a lot of this conversation, because you wouldn't have folks questioning why the lady doth protest too much. Now, what does the leader need to do? He needs to be that change agent. Yeah, he needs to be the change agent. And he can't be the change agent if, in fact, he's going to continue talking about stuff from the past. And I want to say a little bit about that in the next break, about pulling up past stuff. Because, see, we as Americans, if we know anything, especially if you're an American Christian, if you know anything about the New Testament, especially the Apostle Paul and what he said, in order to go anywhere and do anything that's going to be effective in your present day life, you have to forget those things which are behind. And you have to press your way forward. Because those things that are behind will do nothing but drag you back into the past. And hey, if you got relatives or friends who remember what you used to be, get rid of them. Get away from them. Especially if they have a tendency to remind you too often about what you were. Has nothing to do about what you're now. And certainly hope it doesn't have anything to do with your future. But Trump has spent too much time living in the past. Americans, we have too. Talk to you a little bit about it when we return. I'm CL. CL. Here on the home stretch, in the home stretch to close it out, there is a lesson that we can learn from all of this. Every one of us, wherever you are, throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, there's a lesson that you can learn about things that can be dredged up from your past. Because even this thing that's going on with Hillary Clinton is all from her past, but she's so much in the present with her deception that it is crazy. All the stuff that's being drug up about Bill Clinton happened in the past. That's true. And certainly this stuff that we're talking about with Donald Trump is happening in the past. So the lesson that we all learn can be this. And we need to know this, and we need to learn from this, Americans, as we go into our American future. And that is this. There are people who knew you then, knew you when, but they don't know you now. And America, I want us to understand this about ourselves, because there are people who take to the street, the American streets, wanting to dredge up our path. You do know that that is what Colin Kaepernick is all about. He's not about anything that's actually happening right now. He's about an American past. Even Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff. Those are people wanting to relive the pains of an American past. There was a time when we were going through growing pains, going through pains that were necessary for us to become the greatest nation on the face of the earth because of what we would overcome. And because of people like MLK, whose civil rights era dream has been hijacked by those who are paid by progressive liberals in this country to turn back the hands of time. Because of people like them and all of the black and white people who changed not only the South, but America together. It is now, we're now at a point in time, a crossroads, where we can actually go back down the road that we struggled to actually escape. There's a design to do that. The American past, along with many things in your past and any past that we might consider, are truly things that need to be left in the past. Whatever happened to looking toward a bright future? That takes a person who has vision. And that vision has to be unclouded by those things that happened yesterday. Yeah, Paul said it right. You have to forget those things that are behind. And then you have to press your way forward to whatever calling, whatever it is that your endowment given to you by the Creator, as Thomas Jefferson said. Whatever calling that your endowment of life, your endowment of liberty, whatever is calling you toward pursuing your happiness, you have to press forward toward that. You can never get there, American. You can never get there, young person, middle-aged person, mature person. You can never achieve that type of pursuit of happiness if you are weighed down by stuff that happened in your past. In America, there are progressive liberals right now who are waging war against, I believe, the wrecking ball for Washington, D.C., in Donald Trump by dredging up things in his past, trying to make that seem as though that's the person that they knew be the person that we should know. And when I think about someone who has succeeded in business, but yet have failed, and yet have returned to succeed again, that is what we see in a Donald J. Trump. I've met the man on several occasions, had conversation with the man on several occasions now. And that man is the man I believe we will see in the Oval Office. That man who did overcome, who did in fact get a loan, and in his father's world, it was a small loan, whether it was $1 million or whether it was $14 million. In Fred Trump's world, who was worth over $200 million, it was a small loan. But I have known other wealthy men in my lifetime who got smaller and larger loans, but they're bankrupt even now. Still, they don't have any money. Some of them, 2 or 3 of them that I know, they don't have any money now. It takes a certain vision of where you want to go, even if you have the money, to go there with the money. Because the old saying is absolutely true, that a fool and his money will soon part. America, we're $19 trillion in debt. We've been playing the fool for somebody. I'm CL. CL. Here to close it out. I was talking to a doctor today. I won't call any names until after I see the job that he's going to do on my eyes. Then I will sing his praises as the Lord blesses his hands to do what he needs to do. But he said to me, and the nurse, he was talking about Obamacare. I was telling him, you know what I thought about it and so forth. And he was saying that it's interesting that people who come in with it, of course, the copay, the deductible, is usually very huge. And this is what really struck me. And that was this. That people who then stop paying the Obamacare premium, the doctors that they are going to see may not be aware that they've stopped paying the premium. And so they give them the treatment or whatever is necessary, the medical treatment, whatever is necessary, not knowing that they have stopped paying the premium, not knowing that the insurance is not in force. And then the bill, of course, is never paid. And you can't go after them. You can't go after the patient. We are in a very difficult situation in this country right now. Healthcare is on the burner. Trump needs to talk about that. He needs to talk about Obama. He needs to talk about Clinton. He needs to talk about Obama. He needs to talk about Clinton. And then he needs to present his plan for healthcare. He has a pretty good plan. And some of the tenets of it is a health savings account, selling across state lines, repealing and, of course, replacing Obamacare, and then block granting of Medicare back to the states. Yeah. Block granting of Medicare back to the states. If he would spend his time talking about the vision, I think these next 12 days could make incredible inroads into the hearts of Americans. But we have to forget those things, folks. They're behind us. And we have to press forward to those things which lie ahead. Well, I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our mind. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
And to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side. And the